only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of For the Republic. We are your hosts, Nico and Brittany Fideli. How you doing today? Let us know in the comments. Live chat. Everything
How
like
you
that.
doing?
How you doing?
Was that Friends? That was what Joey's line was?
Oh,
How you doing? Or something.
I'm personally a Seinfeld fan.
Yes, I know.
We're going through Seinfeld and making her watch it, so
Yeah.
she's secretly a Seinfeld fan. Secretly coming out of the closet. We'll get her.
There's no secrets.
No secrets.
I don't have a closet.
Yeah. No closet.
No, I don't have any
Where do you
secrets.
keep your clothes?
In a dresser.
Oh, coming out of the dresser.
There's no secrets in there. Just clothes.
Got no secrets in your sock drawer?
Nope, I don't. Well, I actually do have a sock drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really use it because you always wear flip-flops.
Sure that.
Yep. Pregnant. Always wearing flip-flops.
Always wearing flip-flops.
Yep. Well,
Except when you make me wear my boots.
well, you're pregnant and it's icy outside. So
Yeah.
we don't have the luxury of being in a state where there is no ice.
In Tennessee, where
Yeah.
somebody has family right now enjoying 71-degree sunny weather.
Yeah. It's not like they're watching, so we can make fun of them.
Yeah. They're not our most loyal fans. I'm just kidding.
Well, we trust that you had a good week and you're ready for another episode. I think we're ready for another episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing it. We're just going for it.
We're just going for it.
We're winging it.
Yep. We are. That's exactly what we're doing.
Some of our best things, though, have been winging it.
Winging it. Yep.
It was like, want to get married? Wing it.
Yep.
It was great.
While eating chicken wings.
We ate chicken wings?
No, it's just a joke.
Oh,
Like
winging
winging
it.
Winging it while we're eating chicken.
There were
wings.
no chicken wings at our
No,
wedding.
there were no
though,
chicken wings at our wedding.
that we know of.
No, otherwise that would have been a good idea though.
Would have.
Anyways, make sure you guys like, subscribe, click the bell icon to be notified when there's a new episode. Remember, every Sunday night at 7 p.m. here on YouTube, we drop a new episode. Be sure to share it with all your friends. And if you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review. That'll help us a lot.
And nothing less.
Nothing less.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, so leave us some feedback.
Yeah.
Chat's been quiet. We
Yeah.
want to hear from you guys.
We want to hear from you guys.
We know you're out there.
Our audience is growing. We're very thankful for the subscribers that we have been getting.
Yep.
And, we hope that we keep trending upwards.
Mhm.
We're fighting against the algorithm.
Speaking of algorithm, you got hit pretty hard this week.
I did. Yeah, we came out with a short video that didn't do so well, although I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah. So it's funny because the week one,
Yeah.
coming into season 2, week 1, you did a short. It was about the Russian Ukraine invasion, correct?
No. The first short was the Freedom Convoy.
Oh yes, the Freedom Convoy. That's right.
Yeah.
No, we're only 3 episodes in. I'm already forgetting what the first episode was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was about the Freedom Convoy, and right away, within like a couple days, would you have like 800 and some views?
Yeah, we had pretty good viewership on that.
Yeah. What'd you make a video about this last week?
It was the top 10 Biden fails that we covered in the episode last week.
Yep, what you guys enjoyed last week. I'm sure you put it on repeat because it was so funny.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So how many views did you get all week with that?
I haven't checked the last couple days, but it was like under 10.
Yeah.
I think.
So the last time I checked, it was Friday, and we had 10 whole views. So we went from 860 or something like that last week
Yeah.
to this week with 10 views.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's still up if you guys want to, after the episode or whatever, you guys want to watch it, it's still there. So
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of you haven't seen it. It didn't come up on your feed or anything like that. So.
Yeah, but it's been shared to the For the Republic Facebook, so
Yeah.
you can see it on there. You can see it on our YouTube channel and all that. But it's just pretty funny how when you're talking about the Freedom Convoy, they kind of let it go, but then we put Biden's name in there, Biden and fail.
I think it's Biden and fail.
Put Biden and fail in the
and
same
then I
sentence.
also did a hashtag Let's Go Brandon. So I'm sure that
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
help. I'm sure
Yikes.
that didn't help.
Yeah, so down to 10 views. I
Yeah.
wonder what the percentage of drop is. I'm not great with math. I'd love to be able to figure that out, but yeah. So
Well,
we're
80%.
We're fighting
Right?
against, no, it'd be like way more than that. We're talking about 800 to 10,
Oh yeah, that would be like 80 views. It'd be
Yeah.
80%. So like 800%.
something like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not great with math, so. But yeah, so we're fighting against the algorithm here. So feel free to share the videos. Feel free to put us out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we
So-
love you guys.
So Ukraine is still in the cycle today.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's a lot of things going on. Last time we talked to you guys, it was kind of just starting out, and even then, there was already hundreds of casualties and thousands of people injured.
Mhm.
And since then, that number has just been skyrocketing.
Mhm.
And obviously, Russia is still the aggressor. Ukraine mostly just defending themselves. And one of the things that what hit me pretty hard was that, Russia decided to allow humanitarian aid to come in, supposedly.
Mhm.
And while humanitarian aid was coming in and evacuating Ukrainians, they just decided to continue to bomb
Mhm.
around and in the humanitarian aid sites. There's supposed to be a ceasefire so that there could be supplies brought in, stuff like that, and
Mhm.
Russia just completely ignored it. The attitude and the aggression from Russia is very reminiscent of like Gaza, very reminiscent of Hamas, very reminiscent of 70s and 80s Egypt on
Mhm.
Israel, where and on Saudi Arabia, where they were just like trying to all that they can with the propaganda be like, oh, this is a conflict, this is a Middle East conflict, Israel's the aggressor, and and the same thing with Putin, Ukraine belongs to us kind of language,
Right.
and this is a war, justified war. In reality, nothing is justified. Nothing that the Russians have done has been justified,
Mhm.
in my opinion. So
I actually saw like an article reminiscent of that this week where one of I couldn't even quote who it was, but one of the like senators or congressmen came out and he said we have to stand with the Ukraine,
Yeah.
and unlike we have with Pakistan, because this is what Israel's been doing to Pakistan for years.
oh
I was
my
like,
gosh,
oh my goodness,
oh boy,
here we go with the propaganda.
Yeah.
I couldn't even. I was just like, I just scrolled on by. I was like, not today, Satan. You're not getting me this early in the morning.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
we're still hearing that kind of
you
propaganda.
you found this BBC article
Mhm.
of where's my mouse? There it is. If you want to cut to it real quick here.
Oh
This-
yeah, I forgot my cue.
Yeah. This BBC article shows before and after images revealed by Russian destruction, and we see the damage to the apartment building in Kyiv, the before and after here, and missile attacks on residential areas. And I was looking through these pictures, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. I don't want to downplay anything that's going on in Ukraine, but it's very reminiscent of not as bad obviously here, but it's very reminiscent of those riots in the summer. Where we saw, except
Oh, that was a little worse.
that's a little worse. But
I don't know. Minneapolis looked pretty bad after those
my
riots.
point being is that it seems like we are unified on this front, right?
Mhm.
That Russia is the aggressor,
Mhm.
that Russia's doing bad things. And we'll get into the way that the media is handling it. They're handling it terribly. But as far as the American people go, it seems like we are a unified front
Mhm.
against Russia, and that
For the most part.
for the most part, and when there was destruction in the riots and looting, and again, I don't want to downplay what's happening in Ukraine because it's a far worse situation. But my
Yes, far
point being is that when there was rioting and looting here, we were so divided.
Mhm.
There was two separate groups that seemed like they were. I'm sure that the minority was still the people who were for the rioting and looting, but their voice was so loud and they were so
Mhm.
adamant about it that this is their way of expressing. This is their way of showing that they're angry, and you could almost use that same language to try to justify Putin and the Russians, saying that Ukraine and Russia were once one. And Ukraine has turned away. Ukraine has decided to do their own thing, and we have to bring it back. And and to me, it seems like it's so backwards that you would be for people rioting and looting in our streets, but then you're so angry against Russia. It doesn't understand. I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, I think the difference is like media coverage, because there
Yeah.
was the media was very pro riots. The media was very pro burn down the cities and make your voice heard, even though they were trying to hide it at the same time. They were really pushing that narrative. And here, at the time, that narrative was really, really loud.
Yeah.
And so here you have to be really careful, because the spin to try to make Russia look like the good guy, you can't really do that, because there's not really a way to make Russia look like the good guy here. I have seen some people trying to justify it by saying, like, well, Russia is just trying to reunite Russia because the Ukraine was Russia. Wrong. The Ukraine has been in a separate country for like years and years and years and years. It was not Russia. It was part of the Soviet Union.
Right.
When
we
go back,
talked a little bit about the history, and New York Times still has that good article if you want to look back at it, the breakdown of the history of Ukraine and Russia. So.
Right. But the Ukraine was not Russia. The Ukraine has been its own separate country. So there's really no justifying it. So I think when it came to like the riots and stuff, there was a lot of, people need to make a change. People need to make their voices heard, yada, yada, yada. A lot of just like media just pro riots, pro BLM, pro all of this destruction. Where here you can't really make Russia look like the good guy. So I think in this case they're going after Republicans.
Yeah.
So before it was an attack on Republicans, but it was more an attack on white what they were calling white supremacy, which is absolutely ridiculous, because we live in a beautiful country that I don't think you could ever consider white supremacist at this point in time. But so the media now, rather than targeting white people or a specific race, they're really going after the Republican Party. So rather than make Putin the bad guy, they're making the Republican Party the bad guy and Ukraine the victim.
Right.
Which is the opposite, actually, of what Ukraine is doing, because the Ukraine has come out and slammed Democrats almost nonstop since this conflict began.
Yeah, I read an article. I can't remember if it was this morning or if it was yesterday on Saturday, that Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was really coming hard against U.S. senators, saying that, because we didn't have these sanctions in place, because we weren't hard enough on Russia, this allowed them to invade.
Specifically Democratic.
Yeah.
They have been very specific to say that it is the Democrat Party that has led to this conflict. So very opposite of what we're hearing in the media, though.
And I think the media is trying to do their best to kind of cover up. This is like to maybe distract and make the Ukraine and Russian conflict about other things, like you said, referendum on Republicans, referendum on Trump, and we have a list of some wild headlines that I think are just so. A lot of them are just, a lack of a better word, disgusting.
Yeah.
Like I like just taking the focus of what should be and what is actually going on, and just using it as another pawn to push an agenda.
Right. It's a tool that the media uses often to try to shift the narrative, and so they to distract from what is reality. They use manipulation to try to distract from the real issue and make you focus on something that's not the issue, or that's not even really a concern at this point. So we've got some great headlines here.
Yeah,
throw these up.
We got this first one: a war within a war. This comes from CBS News. Transgender woman says transphobia and discriminatory laws keeping her hostage in Kyiv during Russian invasion. So I'm guessing this is alluding to Zelensky saying that men between the ages of 18 and 60 are supposed to stay and fight and take up arms.
Right. So that's the war within the war, because these transgender women, used to be a man, now is a woman. I wonder how many people started identifying as a woman to get out of the country.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, it's kind of crazy to me, because like I've seen so many women over there that have been like, we're ready to fight, and they're like taking up arms and stuff, and then you got this he/she over there who's like, I can't get out of the country because I'm a man. It's like it's crazy to me.
Yeah,
that might have been a little mocking, but
well, I mean, to me, this is kind of, this point here is like worthy of mocking, because to me, this is just the example that we're talking about is the media and the far left are just using every sort of conflict to push their agenda,
Right.
and they're using Ukraine as an extension, like a pawn,
Mhm.
in order to push their. And Ukraine is its own country. Ukraine has its own country, its own
Its own laws, its own
its own laws,
regulations.
its own stuff. It has its own culture.
Mhm.
Stop using Ukraine as an extension of the United
Right,
States.
right.
Stop using Ukraine as a way to push your agenda
Right.
and bring LGBTQ. You're bringing them into something that they don't even. Not even a part of.
Right.
Like there's no LGBTQ movement over in Ukraine. Let me tell you, they're not worried about an LGBTQ
Yeah,
movement.
I don't think that most of them right now are worried about
They're not
the transgender laws that are going to be coming
Yeah.
with Putin's reign. They're
Yeah.
they're worried about their freedom. They're
Right.
worried about their lives. So let's keep going here. We've got
Yeah.
this one from the LGBTQ Nation.
Oh,
Dun dun dun.
didn't know that
There
was.
are two types of men. There's Ukrainian President Zelensky, and I think you're supposed to do like a cat purr there, like a or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's Ted Cruz.
Oh,
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy. And
Shots
so,
fired.
So this is referring to how Zelensky has stayed in Kyiv and has been fighting for the country and so on and so forth, versus Ted Cruz when Texas kind of froze over
Yeah.
this last year, and all of their green energy, their non-fossil fuel energy kind of
Yeah.
froze up, and everybody went without power and heat for a little while. Ted
Yeah.
Cruz actually had a vacation planned. He left for vacation. He got a lot of flack for that, which, I would say portions of it were justified. But at the same time, nothing that happened had anything to do with Ted Cruz's job.
Yeah.
And nothing that happened could have been solved by Ted Cruz.
Yeah,
So
it's important to understand that Ted Cruz is a senator in Texas. He's not a senator. He's not a representative.
Right.
So basically, the purpose of a representative is to represent the people to the federal government, and he's a senator. So he there's literally nothing, like Crenshaw. He had things in place when Texas froze over to like give out food and water and stuff like that, but he himself didn't do it.
He's the one-eyed wonder.
He himself didn't do it. He had people set up to do it. So it didn't matter if he was in Texas or if he was in Cancun.
Yeah.
So like he did his job. He did those things. Ted Cruz as a senator, that's not his job. His job is to do things that senators are supposed to do.
And the media, the part that was annoying about it, because like I was kind of a little on the side of like giving him some flack, because I was like, come on, Ted, it's a really bad time to take a vacation. Like honestly, you could have just put it off for a couple weeks and at least just shown like saved face, you know what I mean? Like avoided the criticism. But at the same time, this was a previously scheduled vacation. It wasn't something that it wasn't like Texas froze over and he was like, oh shoot, I got to get out.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? So, so that narrative there. What's our next one?
Our next one is for courtesy of MSNBC. They're really faithful in giving us the facts.
Facts.
It says why the Republican Party just can't get enough of Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
But I don't know what that means.
Why can't you get enough of Vladimir Putin as a Republican? Is it his baldness?
I don't
just
know
gets you?
why anybody couldn't get enough of Vladimir Putin in the Republican Party. It's so funny because like all week for the last 2 weeks, I would say, you have seen so many people come out and say like, oh, like Biden is trying to take the reins. He's like sanctioning the Russians.
Yeah.
Refuses to sanction Putin himself.
Right.
Refuses to actually take a stand there.
Right. We talked about how he was directly asked by the media
and ignored the question. So he's doing these slap on the wrist sanctions to the Russian people. Not a whole lot going on. And I have heard Republican after Republican after Republican call almost constantly over the last 2 weeks for us to stop using Russian oil. If you want to hit Russia where it hurts, let's stop importing Russian oil. Let's open up our reserves, kick the Keystone pipeline back into construction so that we can get that done. We need to produce more oil. You even saw that from Elon Musk this week, who came out and said, I know this is bad for Tesla, but we need to produce more oil here because the green energy cannot compensate for this crisis. So you even have Elon Musk, the richest man in the world who has made his money on green energy, who's coming out and saying you need to amp up oil production here in the country, and you've had, I mean, Elise Stefanik, you've had Dan Crenshaw, you've just had like all of these like major staples in the Republican Party coming out and saying stop buying Russian oil, stop buying Russian oil, and yet still it's just like nothing's being done. But yet Republicans can't get enough of Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, which leads us right into the next one here. Opinion piece by the Washington Post. Republicans are so eager to see Biden fail that they'd let Putin succeed. And, you know, this prerequisites that Biden is actually doing a good job.
Right.
Like, in order for this statement to be true, it would have to first be that Biden's actually doing something to prevent Putin from succeeding.
Right.
But I've said this time and time again, and I don't know if I've actually said it on this podcast, but literally everything that Biden has been doing in his presidency, literally Iraq as a president could have been better, because everything was in place.
Well, no, Iraq would have been better because Iraq would have been less.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Destructive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Iraq as a president, literally Iraq, an inanimate object as a president, would have been better than Biden because of everything that he's done. Everything before him was set in place so that this would not have happened. The Afghanistan conflict wouldn't have happened. We should have
elected a golden retriever. You know, like those little towns will do. Their mayor will be like a golden retriever or like a baby or something like that. That's what we should have done.
We would be on our way to having our own oil. We wouldn't be reliant on Russian oil. And I mean, say what you will about the Keystone Pipeline not being finished, but the problem is that we have reserves that we could tap into, and if we invested in the Keystone Pipeline, it would be finished. The whole reason why the Keystone Pipeline wasn't
on its way for sure
finished was because there was so much kickback about it. There was so much this and that, you know,
so much lobbying
going back and forth. Yeah, so don't tell me that I would rather see Putin succeed than Biden fail.
Here's the thing about this is the difference between the Democratic and the Republican Party, though, is that this is their strategy.
Yeah.
So the Democratic Party spent 4 years trying to make Donald Trump fail because they considered him such a threat to politics. He took away what mainstream media was able to do before, and he really rocked the political scene. He changed a lot of things, and that was a big threat to the media. So what the media did is they spent 4 years attacking Trump as the person, Trump as the president, Trump's policies. It didn't matter what Trump did. He could have farted downwind and they still would have complained about it. So it didn't matter what Trump did. It was always this personal attack against him. And so they used this tactic, what they're saying here, like, oh, Republicans are so eager to see Biden fail. It's actually not. That's not true at all, because the fact of the matter is the Republican Party loves this country so much that we would rather see a complete and total moron like Biden be successful and do good things for the country, because we love the country that much. I would so much rather see Biden be doing great things here as somebody who does not like him, as someone who does not like his morals, his values, his history in government, as somebody who literally thinks that Biden is one of the most worthless people on the planet as far as what he has done for the country over the last 40 years. I would rather see him succeed and this country succeed than to see him fail and the country pay the price.
You're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head that the reason why this article exists is because the person who wrote it, I guarantee you, would think the same exact thing if Donald Trump was in office. She would rather have seen Donald Trump fail than Putin succeed and let Putin succeed.
Right. And so because the Democratic Party is pushing this, especially when it comes to like Democratic news media, this, like, you know, we've got all this legacy news that pushes these agendas, because they have so little to stand on. What they do is they reverse those tactics and they say, well, let's turn this around on Republicans and make it look like they're the bad guys here.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of which, USA Today put out a great article saying Putin's assault on humanity in Ukraine is looking really bad for Donald Trump.
Who's not president.
It's looking really bad for him. But I don't know. What can we say about this? I mean,
it's ridiculous. The Democratic Party has nothing else to focus on but Donald Trump. They literally can't. They can't even boast themselves, so they got to just put down Trump.
Yeah.
Here's another good one from The Guardian. Putinism is breeding in the heart of the Republican Party.
Ooh, yeah.
What is Putinism? Is that a religion?
I don't know. But I was reading, I can't remember what I was reading, but there was like articles talking about how the Republican Party is like the way Putin governs. And I was like,
Oh, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what does that mean? So I was reading the article, and it was talking about, the Republican Party is like really religious. So
Right.
and Russia has a really influential church. So like that's why they're so similar.
Mhm.
And Russia is all about building up their army, and the Republican Party is for the army. So that's why they're
Mhm.
really similar. I'm like thinking to myself, like I don't
None of
understand.
this makes
None of
sense.
this makes sense to me.
Yeah, another big one is because Putin is like anti-LGBTQ,
Yeah.
and that's what the left and the non-religious like to push on the Christian church. They like
Yeah.
to say that like we're bigots and we're haters and all of that stuff. That we hate homosexuals or we hate like people of that transgender or whatever. Which none of that is true at all. Just because
Yeah.
we don't agree with your lifestyle doesn't mean we hate anybody. We actually love everybody and pray for everybody and hope that all would come to salvation. So that's one of the other things that they were really pushing, like,
Yeah.
like they want to see Putin in power because they want to see like the LGBT community disseminated
Yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, I would always.
like, okay,
I
no.
mean, I don't think that Democrats are for Putin, but I would almost say that it's completely the opposite.
Mhm.
Where Putin, the way that he governs, is more of what the left would govern.
Yes.
Because even though Russia has a strict, influential church, the amount of people that go to church is way less than it is in America by far, especially regularly. And also, there are like 4 times the amount of abortions in Russia than there is in the U.S. So and
just look at the way that Putin has it literally gone against all of the rules.
Right.
He's literally committing war crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, like actual war crimes. He's
Yeah.
targeting civilians. I mean, there's been
not just Geneva Convention, but even Russian, like
Right.
with their constitution and everything states,
Right.
like he's committing war crimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's reports of them literally just Russian soldiers just shooting up cars of families when
Yeah.
they drive through. They're running over them with tanks. They're bombing their apartment buildings, all this stuff. So they're committing like actual war crimes here, and breaking the law, breaking the rules, threatening other countries. You're gonna feel the wrath of us and blah 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 blah. Well, who does that remind you of? The Democratic Party that says we don't care what the Constitution says.
Yep.
We don't care if this is legal or not. Biden himself, who said, I'm doing this and I know it's against the law,
Yeah.
but it's going to take some time for the Supreme Court to stop me.
Right.
Who does that remind you of?
Right.
Not
Exactly.
the Republican Party.
Right.
Certainly not the Republican Party. But yet, that's the narrative.
Yep, and that's the narrative. MSNBC also pushing the narrative. GOP struggles to find right message on Russia as Trump calls Putin smart.
Yeah.
Yep. So apparently Trump has praised Putin and all that he's done. I don't know, I don't know how these people
Called him smart and he
Yeah.
called him savvy.
I don't know
which-
how these people can get into Trump's mind by just smart and savvy, just knowing what exactly he's saying.
Here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. How would Putin have risen to the level of authority and power that he's in if he was not smart?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have 80 million dead people voting for him in
Right.
the election. So
Right.
like he didn't have to he didn't have to lock like Republicans out of the voter places so that they could, miscount votes. Like that didn't have to happen. He rose to power because he's smart.
Right.
He rose to power because he has taken advantage of the law. He's taken advantage of the situation in Russia. He has taken advantage of the way to gain power. That's not a stupid person. And you can
No.
acknowledge that he's not stupid. You can acknowledge the fact that Russia has been pushing green energy on the U.S. while developing their own
Right.
oil
Right.
so that we would become dependent on their oil come
Right.
time for them to invade Ukraine.
No,
Because that takes away our power. And you see that happen throughout history. And yet Trump is being criticized for calling him smart. That he is smart. He is savvy. It doesn't mean he's right.
Right.
It doesn't mean he's a good guy. It doesn't mean that anybody agrees with him.
Right.
It means that he has used his intelligence to manipulate the situation to get the
Yep.
results that he wants.
Yep, he's and the important. I think it's very important that Trump points that out, that he's smart and savvy. It's not to praise him, but it's to know your adversary.
Right.
I think like a lot of Democrats have slept on Russia They've slept on China.
Mhm.
They've slept on North Korea. And like to me, it's because they don't respect the adversary.
Right.
They don't respect the message that they're pushing, and they've done the same thing with Middle East conflicts. They downplay they downplay what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, and the part of winning over an adversary is to recognize their tactics, recognize what they're doing. And this is something, like you said, with Russia pushing green energy to the US, that's something that if you recognize the person that's pushing that agenda, it's something you could see from a mile away. But
Right.
because you're not willing to give them the credit that they deserve as far as their tactics go, then that's how you sleep on your adversary. That's how
Right.
things like this happen.
Which is like it's funny because like I feel like as like a Christian, especially as like a conservative Christian, that's something. What does the Bible specifically say about our adversary, the devil? It
Right.
says he roams around like a roaring lion,
Yep.
or seeking whom he may devour.
Oh my gosh, is
Right?
God praising the devil because
So-
he's like a lion?
So like he roams around seeking whom he may devour. He doesn't like it's not like he's just like hanging out like I'll let my lackeys take care of it or something. He is the Vladimir Putin in the situation. He's the guy who's being savvy. He's the guy who's being smart. He's the guy who's using what he has to get what he wants. He's using his power, his abilities, his tactics, his resources to influence, to change, to bring about what he wants, which is obviously the destruction of people. He wants all people to die. He wants to end, he wants to end us. So being smart and recognizing that we're not fighting a sleeping adversary, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Recognizing who we're fighting against, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's the opposite.
Right, exactly. All right, so we got from Newsweek. This is
Oh boy.
This is an Apple News Plus article. DeSantis, Rubio shun Biden's was it the State of the Union address, but won't condemn Trump's praise of Putin.
Dun dun dun. Nobody better be talking bad about DeSantis, man.
Yeah. And so I think this is a political strategy. You would expect somebody who's in office to go after another person in office, but because the media is in the pocket of the Democrats for so long, they pretty much do it for them. So this is basically setting up for DeSantis making runs to maybe a presidential bid. They're going to come after him a lot. You're going to see stuff like this in the news a lot.
Right. You're going to see them taking like our bigger, more popular Republican representatives, whether they be senators, governors, congressmen, and they're going to try as hard as they can to identify them with Trumpism, I guess, as you would call it, because they want people to view the Republican Party as extreme as possible.
Yep.
So you're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of this the closer we get to midterms.
Yep. So another one from our good friends at LGBTQ Nation. I'm surprised they don't get flack for doing like the AARP at the end or whatever it is. Isn't there more to the acronym now?
Yeah, it's something. It's long now.
Yeah, there's not even a plus. They didn't even have the plus.
Yeah.
Huh. Jeez Louise.
That doesn't seem inclusive to me.
No, it doesn't. Will the Ukraine invasion finally end the religious rights love affair with Putin?
I think this goes back to what we were talking about just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we covered that.
Yeah.
MSNBC.
Oh.
Another one from MSNBC.
Get it again. An opinion article from MSNBC. Why some white evangelicals here are cheerleading Russia, not Ukraine. Literally don't know one single evangelical, white or otherwise, who is cheering Russia. I have not met these people yet.
Right.
I mean, granted, I try to stay in my house as much as possible. But no, in all seriousness, where are these people?
Yeah.
Again?
I have no idea. As someone who is a white evangelical, we do not.
Do you want to identify?
Identify. We do not know anybody who are cheering on Russia and not Ukraine. In fact, we just gave a love offering and raised some money for missionaries in Poland that are helping Ukrainians and
the refugees. Yep.
Time and time again, I see a lot of Republicans and a lot of Christians raising money for these kinds of things, but
volunteering. We're seeing a lot of the missionaries that are a lot of our missionaries. We're seeing our heads of our different I would say like church. What do you call the church names?
Yeah.
Like the assemblies has called for they've called for days of prayer, they've called for fasting, they've called for supporting our missionaries in the countries that surround Ukraine to help with refugee people coming into the surrounding areas. So a lot of that kind of stuff going on. I haven't seen any of them cheerleading Russia though.
Yeah. No cheerleading Russia.
Yeah. Not so far.
Yeah. So we're actually helping the Ukraine, not cheerleading them. So nice try on that one. USA Today. All right, read
That's
this
a good one. How to help your child cope with horrific images from the war in Ukraine. What is that, like a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Could you imagine showing a 2-year-old the images from Ukraine? They'd be like, "Can I have a lollipop?"
I'm actually curious to what this article actually said. I didn't get a chance to read this one.
Yeah, I just find it interesting because I feel like first off, this is really one of the last things that I'm concerned about is children seeing horrific images from the war in Ukraine because unless you're exposing them to it, I don't really see how your child
This
is
is like priority. This is like right above the transphobic one.
Yeah, these are our biggest concerns is whether transgender people are going to have rights if Russia succeeds and how our children are going to cope with images from the war in Ukraine. It's super important to me, way more important than all the people dying for sure.
So the Hill, here we go. This is their way of trying to cheer Biden on. Opinion article from the Hill says Biden shows decisive leadership on Ukraine. It'll get tougher. Decisive leadership on Ukraine. What is he doing? Is he at these meetings with Zelensky?
I think it's because he offered him a ride out in the plane.
Okay.
I don't know, but it'll get tougher. That's all we know.
The Daily Beast. I'm a former Russian TV anchor. Fox News mimics state TV.
It was good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Fox News, man, they're ruining the country.
Oh man,
with their state TV.
I mean, literally none of these articles. These are just articles that we just flip through on Apple News and stuff like that. And we've never seen any articles from Fox News that even come remote to these.
No, I know. Literally, it's so funny because you can tell right away, if an article headline makes sense. Because I don't always look at who's writing the article first. I'll just a lot of times I'll skim through the headlines. If it makes sense, most of the time it's coming from Fox News. Yeah. The rest of the time, or the New York Post has put out some good ones lately too. So yeah, but most of them if I read the article headline and I'm just suddenly are you kidding me? I know it's come from MSNBC, the Daily Beast, it's come from any of these, CNN, a big one.
Yeah, CNN opinion.
We got this one. Is Biden the comeback kid?
The comeback kid.
And why would Biden be the comeback kid? Because apparently he made a phenomenal State of the Union
address.
Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of the stuff that Biden was saying in the State of the Union address is very reminiscent of what a Republican would have said. As far as funding the police and getting immigration under control. Yeah. The only difference is that
he created all the problems.
He created all those problems first. To me, he's saying, "Oh, we need to get immigration under control. Yeah. We need to fund the police, not defund them." Well, it's your platform that opened the borders. It's your platform that preached defunding the police for the last 2 years.
Right. Right. It's so funny because it's the equivalent of you going into your kitchen and just destroying the kitchen. Yeah. You make this huge mess, you break dishes, you've got food everywhere, and then you say to your spouse, "You know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to clean up the kitchen." Well, I certainly hope so, because you're the one who screwed it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He literally destroyed all of these things, and then he puts together this speech that was semi-coherent about how he's going to fix it all.
Yeah.
And really how none of us are ever going to forget the Iranians.
Right.
And their bravery.
The uraniums. He said uraniums.
It's been going around. Everyone thinks he said Iranians. That's the big thing. You got Kamala Harris in the background because so if you're unfamiliar with this, Joe Biden was talking about the conflict in Ukraine. He was talking about the bravery of the Ukrainians, but instead of Ukrainians, he said Iranians or uraniums or something.
Yeah, something.
And,
he did not say Ukrainians.
Yeah, and then you have Kamala Harris in the background who's like stunned and is mouthing Ukrainians in the background.
Yeah.
And then you got later, Joe Biden talking about like people dying and Nancy Pelosi with her little fist rub. I don't know what this is.
I don't know, just rubbing her crystals or something, or warming up her hands.
It's got to be some sort of like spell casting.
Yeah.
I think I noticed she didn't rip her speech up this year.
Yeah, no, she didn't do that this year.
Good stuff though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so easy to just follow along and get pushed by the waves and get pushed by the narratives. It's very uplifting to hear Biden say something that's positive, say something that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But these are all talking points that he's been given. These are all talking.
It's a speech that he didn't write.
It's a speech that he didn't write. It's
Standards
an agenda
he doesn't carry.
Yeah. And it's very important for us not to get distracted and not forget what we've been living through these past 2 years. And the things that inflation, the reason why gas prices are high, the reason why you can't find anything. I can't stand it. And it's like a first world problem, but I can't stand it that I go into Walmart and they don't have pasta on the shelves. Like, to me,
oh my gosh, like
it's
any
crazy.
Pasta.
Like it's insane to me that
when we say pasta, we mean anything but spaghetti.
Yeah,
There's
but
literally nothing but spaghetti.
Yeah,
and sometimes you can't even find that.
I mean, I mean, I'm very thankful that we live in this country. I'm very thankful that the blessings that we have, but. The reason why I'm frustrated is because these are not problems that we should be having right now.
Right.
These are
created problems.
These are created problems. This is something that's been because of the pandemic and because of the way that the pandemic has been pushed and extended the last couple of years. We now have to deal with this crazy inflation. And don't listen to the sound bites where Biden says that we've seen the biggest economic growth in 40 years.
No.
Well, yeah, we've seen the biggest economic growth because there were millions of people that were unemployed.
Right.
So when people are starting to go back to work, of course the economy is going to go up. But what came with that? Inflation came with that. High gas prices came with that.
The price that we had to pay for that. Right. And the thing is, I think what's really irritating here is that Biden wants credit for fixing something that he broke, and I don't think that you should get credit for fixing something that you break. I think that at the very least you should get forgiveness for fixing something that you broke, but you certainly should not get credit. Like, you have extended the pandemic. You have pushed a narrative. You have left people out of work. You have pushed a depression on society.
Right.
And now you're saying, oh, we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
And you want credit for that. You know, you want praise, like, oh, look, we're fixing the economy. We've seen economic growth. Why? Because all the people who spent a year and a half being unemployed because they couldn't go to their jobs suddenly can work again. That's not a credit to you. Like, that's not a good thing. You have these democratic states. It's an election year because Hochul, who has made us mask up, who literally she was threatening our community because our masking was not working here. They were trying to get everybody to mask up voluntarily, and people were like, no. And so then she had to make it a mandatory thing for a while because people wouldn't do it. And then still, once she made it mandatory, a lot of people wouldn't do it because we don't buy into the narrative of what they're saying. But regardless, and we've never had a problem with people who choose to. If you choose to, we, by all means, freedom, baby. We have freedom. I'd love to see more people walk around with full facial masks. I'm just kidding. We love y'all. You're all beautiful. Everybody's God's creation. So But in all seriousness, though, like, it's an election year.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yep.
kids are being unmasked. Now, it's been months and months and months of parents protesting, of representatives calling for them to pull masking out of school. You've got her Hochul going into schools, posing with children while she's unmasked, and the children are all masked up. And you've had this going on for months and months and months. Boom, it's an election. All of a sudden, let's unmask the kids. Our communities can unmask because we've overcome the toughest part of the coronavirus. We're finally on our way to recovery. New York City no longer has to carry vaccine passports, all of this stuff that people have been fighting for months and months and months, and now into going on to almost 2 years that some people have been fighting this stuff. And because it's an election year, we're going to give that up. Yeah. Come vote for me. Yep. Like, you don't get credit for breaking the country and then trying to fix it. You don't get. There's no good job or attaboy. Right. It just makes me so mad that it's like, let's destroy something and then we'll put it back together right before election time, and everyone will get confused and think that we did a good thing. Right.
Exactly. And I'm going to be honest. I'm not very hopeful that they are going to make any changes. I think they're gonna do what the very bare minimum that they could do to get by and say, oh, this is where it was and this is now where it is. So don't expect don't expect border funding. Don't expect there to be a wall funding. Don't expect there to be more border patrol agents. Don't expect there to be a crackdown on immigration. Don't expect there to be a crackdown on Russia or anything like that, because
you can expect crack, but definitely not crackdown.
Yeah, they're crack pipes that they're giving out.
The crack pipes, they're giving those out. Yeah, that's good stuff.
But yeah, so
crack, no crackdown.
I think
should be their motto for midterm elections. Crack, no crackdowns.
Crack, no crackdown. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good spot to end it.
Uh-oh.
Well, guys, we'll see you We'll see you next week. Have a good week, and thanks for watching. Take care.